your name, Lord, until your glory falls on us. We'll worship your name, Lord, until your glory falls on us. Hello. Welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. I am your host, Minister Rev Williams. Thank you, audience, for that gracious round of applause. Now, I'd like to welcome you, the listeners, the faithful listeners of Can I Get a Word, the podcast, to the show on today. Thank you for joining us on today. If you have been paying attention on social media, I got Rev Tisha Dixon-Williams out of Brooklyn, New York. She's the creator, the founder of Who's That Lady Ministries out of Brooklyn, New York. She's doing phenomenal work. So you are in for a treat on today. If you're looking to follow Can I Get a Word Ministries, you can follow us at Instagram at Can I Get a Word, Facebook, Can I Get a Word Now, and Twitter at Can I Get a Word Now, or go to the website at canIGetAWord.org, or you can call me, Dr. Duran, at 703-915-9405, or you can email me at drduran at canIGetAWord.org. This Friday, we got Friday Night Live. That's going to be at Redemption Studio. That's 10934 Hull Street Road. I got Vaughn B. Lynn. He's the worship leader. R. Timothy Horton and Renewed. I got I Push. I got Brandy Wellman. She's going to be coming, and Reverend Carlos Garrett. He's going to be coming, giving a phenomenal word of encouragement. I talked to him earlier. I talked to Timothy Horton. It's going to be an awesome time in the Lord, and I think that's our special guest, Tisha. Hello. Welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Who am I speaking with?
Giovanna.
Hey, how you doing? How you pronounce your name?
Giovanna.
How you doing? I think that's Tisha right now. I'm about to put her into the call. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Good evening. Welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Who am I speaking with?
Hello?
Yes, is this Tisha?
No, this is Pumpkin. How are you?
Okay, how you doing? This is Minister Duran. I got another caller. Hold on real quick.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Hello, welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Who am I speaking with?
Kim,
how you doing? This is Duran down in Richmond, Virginia.
hi, how are you? We waiting on Tish?
Yeah, we waiting on her. I told her to call in around 7:08, so she should be calling in the next couple of minutes.
Okay, I'm early because some people said that they couldn't get through.
Yeah, I was just starting to show up, just doing like a lot of the background stuff, the intro.
Oh, okay.
But it's okay. You guys are in Brooklyn?
Yes, we are. Yes.
Okay, I was born in Brooklyn at downstate.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, my parents used to live on East.
All right, I was born at downstate too. All right now.
My parents used to live on East 93rd. We got another caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Who am I speaking with?
This is Michelle.
Okay, how you doing, Michelle? This is Minister Duran down in Richmond from Can I Get a Word Ministries.
Finding yourself.
I'm good. We're waiting on Tisha to call in. Good evening. Welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Who am I speaking with?
Hello.
Okay. Welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Good evening. Welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Who am I speaking with?
This is Tanya Bryan.
Oh, hey, Tanya. How you doing? What's up, family? We're waiting on Tisha to call in.
Okay. I was just calling in so I could listen to the podcast live.
Yes, you will. Welcome to Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Who am I speaking with? Hello?
Hello?
You're live on Can I Get a Word, the podcast. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Hello. Hello. Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello?
Yes, y'all there?
Hello? Yes, we're still here.
Okay. Still waiting on Tisha. Hold on 1 second. So how's everybody doing this evening?
Very good, thank you.
That's good. That's good. I just sent her a text. There she is. Good evening. Welcome to Can I Get a Word to Podcast. Good evening. Welcome to Can I Get a Word to Podcast. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, wait. How you come doing this way? Hold up. Try to call her Skype number again. Hang up. Okay. Facebook. All right. Okay, here's Tisha, y'all. Welcome to Can I Get a Word to Podcast. Who am I speaking with?
You're speaking to Rev Tisha-Williams.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, wonderful. How are you? Hi, Tisha. Hi.
You got a line full of callers waiting for you.
I'm super excited. That must be Lady Nation representing.
Well, first and foremost, let me give all of y'all that called in a round of applause.
Yay!
I'm so excited. I'm so glad that y'all called in on tonight. I'm just grateful for all of this support. We're going to get right down to business. So, Tisha, introduce yourself to the people. Tell them where you're from and what you're doing in ministry right now.
So, first, I want to thank everyone that's already on the line. I have to always give credit where credit is due. I want to thank this amazing Minister Duran, who is awesome. We met. He is now my brother. He couldn't get rid of me if he tried. And I'm super excited about all the work that you're doing in your Can I Get a Word ministry. I'm very proud of you, encouraged by you. And I want to say thank you for making the bold choice to highlight women in this month of February. So I want to start by thanking you first. And thank you for the opportunity to share with your listeners. I really appreciate it. I really admire the work that you're doing. So I am from Brooklyn, New York. Planet Brooklyn, stand up. Proud product of Brooklyn, New York. Everyone, no matter where you go in the world, there's always going to be somebody from Brooklyn. You can go to Beirut, and someone's going to, Brooklyn in the house, they're going to say yes. And so definitely tonight on this call, Brooklyn is in the house.
Definitely. So, man, I don't even know where to start. There's so many different questions I could ask you. There's so much great work that you're doing. I love following you on Facebook, all the amazing things that you're doing in ministry.
God be the glory.
But if I could ask you, when were you called to ministry?
So looking back on it, I think I've always been called to ministry. Hindsight is 20/20. I think I've always been called to ministry. The definitive call was in 2007, and it was so bizarre. I remember I was sitting in church in the pews, and there was an empty seat on the pulpit. And I remember coming to church every Sunday and feeling this amazing pull, this amazing tug. I couldn't identify it. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that there was something pulling on my spirit. And I would sit there for the whole service and cry. And this was months, and I would just see myself sitting in that seat on the pulpit. And that was in 2007, and I really ran from it for a very long time. And the reason was I didn't think anyone would listen to what I had to say. I have lived a very interesting and, as I like to say, charmed life. I've done a lot in my life. And so I was very afraid that if I acknowledged the call to ministry, people would just look at this as like, oh, now she's a preacher. I thought she was a model. I thought she was an actress. I thought she was this. And I just thought that this was going to be another thing that people would look at and say, it's a passing fancy or novelty. And so I was very afraid for that reason to acknowledge my calling. The other reason I was afraid to acknowledge my calling is like, nobody's going to listen to what I have to say. I'm very silly, goofy. I love to laugh. And I thought that no one would take me seriously. And so I really avoided ministry for a very long time. And I remember going through a season where God literally began to strip me of anything that took my attention away from him. I mean, everything. So I'm like, my iPod got stolen, like my DVD, anything that my DVD player, because I love to watch movies. And so somehow that was destroyed. I mean, everything. I got into a little fender bender, a car accident. My husband had just got me a new car. And because of the way it was going to take 4 months for the car to get back to us. It was just bizarre. It's just a series of events where everything that I had focused my attention on was taken away from me. And it was at that time that I began to delve more into God's word, become more passionate about serving him in church. And I remember sitting in church, and I was so sad because I just felt so stripped. And a voice said this just as clear as day to me. It said, I can make all this go away if you would just do what I tell you to do. Clear as a bell. If you do what I tell you to do, I'll make all of this go away. Almost as if I'll make everything better, but you have to follow me. And that was in 2008. And before I knew it, I was seated in front of my pastor, acknowledging my call to ministry. And the rest, as they say, is history. But I learned a valuable lesson in that. When God asks you the first time, do it.
Now, were there women that inspired you, or like influenced you, or like gave you that confidence to answer your call?
Well, the great thing about First Calvary Baptist Church, where I still serve, amazing church in Brooklyn, New York, in Bed-Stuy, Pastor Reverend Earl Jones Sr. The great thing about him is that he had an assistant. Her name is the late Reverend Katie Mack, who was awesome. I mean, just a pious, staunch woman of God, loved God, passionate about God and ministry, loved people. And I think somewhere in my subconscious, seeing her as a leadership figure in our church next to my pastor on a consistent basis, I'm pretty sure that did a lot for me. Seeing her and how she affected people, how she was such a supporter of our pastor, and how he leaned on her for so much, I think really inspired me and let me know it was okay to be a woman in ministry. She was super tiny, but super strong. And, while she was small in stature, her spiritual presence, she was a giant. And I think seeing that coming into the church was inspiring for me. And then as I continue to grow in ministry, there's several women who have inspired me. And so I'm grateful for that. Mm-hmm.
Now, what were those first couple of years like as you were kind of, getting your feet wet or like getting your feet planted in ministry? What were those first couple of years like?
Nerve-wracking. Nerve-wracking. The first couple of years I was nervous constantly, very unsure of myself.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, God.
Always tried to stay true to